Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening, or good morning, or afternoon, depending on when you're listening. Welcome to the 93rd of hopefully many episodes of Bard Advice, a D&D slash TTRPG slash nerd-centric podcast where I, Charles Chaz Yazik, the DM, the Bard, however you may know me, do my best to answer any questions that you might have for me. So, hope that everybody's doing well. Happy Friday. Go over a couple of things before we get into things. I had to reset all of my stuff with my Streamlabs because I had an issue, so we'll see how it goes. But a reminder of everyone, see, already we got issues. I gotta just move this. We've got the email address, which is bardadvice@gmail.com. It also looks like bardadvice. Please send all your questions, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques, etc. to bardadvice@gmail.com. If you want to get some merch, you can do so over at manshorts.com, or notably, you can go over to krakendice.com and get one of the 4 dice sets that we released with Kraken earlier this year. And if you want to contribute to anything that I do musically, you can do so directly via PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, all of which are Yazik, Yahzick. Okie dokie. So, we've got several questions to get to this evening. First, I would just start by letting everybody know that if you didn't already know or hear, I did finish or rather pass my exams for my CompTIA A+ certification. So I'm officially A+ certified, which is good news. I'm glad that I was able to pass those and get that. So now it's just a matter of finding a job, which is easier said than done, as I'm sure many know. But that's where we are. So on that's a good note, and want to, of course, extend again my thank you to anybody who's helped with that, whether that was through like donations or just like general words of encouragement. It's much appreciated because I was able to get through it. So thank you for that. Also, at the top of the hour, we do like to thank all of our members, our patrons, our super chatters. Remind everybody to please like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, rate the podcast, join the Discord, etc. So, let's get into Art Corner this evening. There's just a couple of things that I have, and it's a little bit of like self-pluggy, but that's fine because it's been, I guess, were we here last week? Maybe not. Maybe not, because I was studying. So it's been a while, I guess. But in that timeline, I have released a single. If you haven't heard already, it should be available everywhere now. Originally, it was just available on YouTube as a lyric video. But it's called Cyclone. It should be available everywhere you listen to music. So if you haven't heard it, go check it out. I'm slowly but surely building out and kind of conceptualizing and planning my 4th album. So that's what's going on there with the single. And then also just another Art Corner note that was actually part of a question that I received this week. And let me just read out what they put and while I put this up, because I really don't honestly know too much about it. But a bonus link for Art Corner, this person who sent this in asked, I think it was Sean that sent this in, has said that I can't recommend the Sword, Spells, and Stealth series by Drew Hayes enough. The first book, NPC, starts with some NPC characters needing to pose as adventurers to save their town. They try to play their expected roles, but none of them fit, so the orc becomes a wizard and the damsel becomes the barbarian. And that actually ties into what Sean's question is, which we'll talk about later. But yeah. So those are the Art Corner things. Oh, and before I forget, also another kind of self-plug, but as usually has been lately part of Art Corner, is a reminder of the other show that I do with my buddy Songaria. It's Bartificial Intelligence. We do that every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on his channel. And I believe that there's a link for that in the description here. So if you want to go and check that out and see what that's all about, it's a real fun time. We make AI music with Suno, which is, Suno's just getting better every day with what you can do with it. So there's all of that. Artificial Intelligence, check that out on Sundays. Okay, so that's everything for Art Corner. It's all the housekeeping stuff. Talked about CompTIA Plus. So let's get into it. We've got 7 questions this evening. Some of them more dense than others. So let's start things off with a Chris. So we'll start off with question 1 is from Chris this evening. We'll go ahead and knock that one out as we know we're going to have it. And Chris asks, "Hey Charles, I hope all is well with you and yours. Congrats on passing your first test." Oh, this is an earlier email. I've already passed both. It was recently released that Wizards of the Coast have made their first canon character with autism. In an earlier episode, you had hinted at having some neurodivergent tendencies. Do you see this as character inclusion or pandering? Well, thank you for the question, Chris. That's an interesting thing that I didn't even know about because I haven't really been following, I guess we call it like vanilla D&D these days. The show keeps me tapped into what's going on, honestly. So, yeah, I didn't know anything about it. Neurodivergent tendencies, for sure. But I think, everybody's a little bit on the spectrum of neurodiversion. Depends on who you're talking to or what you're talking about. I wrote an answer for this that's like more well thought out than just me rambling. So let me say this. It's probably a little of both. So I imagined the way that this happened is that someone who worked, it was probably like a woman in the art department or something. Someone genuinely thought this would be a cool thing to do. And it would be a good thing. Maybe even someone who is autistic or on the spectrum that worked at the company had this idea. But then the executives had a meeting about it. They probably had marketing run like data analysis and find out that like, oh, this could actually end up making us more money. So, it's probably a mix of both. So corporations will do literally whatever it is they think will make them money. And Wizards of the Coast has been hurting lately, just across the board. So, I think inclusion is really important. As somebody who's always been kind of like an outlier, I think it's really important. Like, in my opinion, I know a lot of people don't believe that, right? Like, people are different in what their opinions are. But my opinion is like, I think it's important. I think that it should be there. And whether it's there for corporate greed or not, I think it's still there, because they're going to be greedy regardless. Wouldn't it be better if more people were included in that greed? Because I feel like even though we're all so similar, we're all also so different. So we have to be able to coexist. So, yeah, I think that it's probably both. It's probably a thing where they're going to make money, and then probably a thing where it's good for people. Overall, I think it's a good thing because I think that people who might otherwise feel alienated from the world for any reason, it's important that they have some representation. I imagine that it's going to make a lot of people really angry, but then again, people have been really angry at Wizards for a while anyway. So I really don't think it's going to move the needle much way one way or the other. I think the only end result is that some kid with autism might feel a little better because they see themselves as a character in a book. So, I think that that's a good thing. Wizards and Hasbro are greed machines regardless. So just want to make that clear. I don't think that this really has any bearing on that. Kind of separate issues that coexist, if that makes sense. Coming from Wizards or Hasbro, I'm leaning more towards virtue signaling pandering, but I'm also not neurodivergent, so don't take my opinion too seriously. Well, I think everybody's opinion should be taken seriously, but I think that it's just, a matter of like what the end goal is. I think that the easy cheat sheet is that if it's a corporation, it's about money. And anything else comes secondary to that. So that's just like my opinion, man. But yeah, so thank you for the question, Chris. It's interesting. I hadn't heard of that. I should look that up. I really should look more into it. All right. So next question of the evening is from John. Oh, sorry, there's one more note here I just saw. It's probably good representation and might give some folks who think they aren't creative or can't roleplay some confidence that D&D is for them too. Yeah, for the players, it's always about like inclusion, at least in my experience, like at my table, that's what's going on. But with corporations, it's always going to be about money. So, next question is from John, and John asks, what series of books would you like to see converted to a TTRPG? I have several, but my newest one is the Xanth series by Piers Anthony. Thank you for the question, John. I'm not familiar with that particular series. I think that we've talked about this before, but I didn't remember what I might have said before, because I really don't... Do I? I really don't, hold on. I got distracted. The Xanth series. Yeah. So, we're talking about books being made into TTRPGs. Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, but I don't really remember. And it's been quite a while since I've actually, read like I should. So, chat, feel free to throw out your ideas or responses to this question. Some of these already may exist, but I just put together a list that I think it'd be fun to run TTRPGs of. The Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Oh, it's a pirate. That's ne'er-do-wellish of you. I'd like to run TTRPG of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the Coldfire trilogy. That'd be fun. Wheel of Time, Dune. I would play a Tarzan RPG. That would be real fun. And then there's also a book that I started reading earlier this year, but still have yet to finish, but I've really enjoyed thus far, called Red Rising. And that seems like a pretty cool world. That might be a real fun place to run. Like a one-shot or even like a full campaign through. I'm not familiar very much with the Xanth series. The Dresden Files. Lae'zel felt like she was on the spectrum, and I loved her for it. Man, I've never liked Lae'zel. This isn't the first time we've seen corporations do virtue signaling to try and get some good PR back to increase sales. Yeah, still going through some comments on the last thing, but you're just looking to get disqualified? No. Well, now you're just giving away your hand, pirate. I'm not going to kick you out if you want to get kicked out. That's not how it works around here, pal. Been reading the Xanth novels since I was like 10. Lae'zel has a great story. She goes through a ton of characters. Yeah, my buddy, I think Ryan kind of feels the same way. I don't know. It's just a matter of your opinion on the characters of the game. I didn't really like anybody but Karlach. And Withers is cool. If we're talking about Baldur's Gate 3. The Dark Days Club series would be fun. Fighting demons in 1812 London. Sounds like something an average D&D party would do. Yeah, that'd be cool. The Ables, teenage superheroes with disabilities. That's cool. I want to do an Angel Evil Dead crossover as a tabletop. Huh. Yeah, I'm sure that there's a lot of cool things you could do. I think it'd be cool to just do like a regular life TTRPG. Where, you just play like a regular person and then supernatural or fantasy type things happen. Shar storyline is pretty cool too. Karlach's definitely the best. Yeah. If you're here, you're not late. Wait a minute. What? That's not how it works. If you're here, you're not late. That's what it is. The Little Women series. Yeah, there's a lot of like classic books and worlds I think would be cool. Like if you were dropped off in the world of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and stuff. Mistborn RPG. Not familiar. Well, yeah, that's what I'd say. Those are, and if anything, this has just been a moment of reflection for me that I need to read more, man. I just don't have time. Regular life RPG, you would have to decide if you want to work or get money to survive or take the mental damage from the job. Well, here's the thing. If it was a real world RPG, there's no shot I'm working. Are you kidding me? I'm a criminal. Immediately. Like that, talk about like an escape from, maybe that's the move, is just like a real life RPG. RLRPG. IRLRPG. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Jules Verne, Edgar Allan Poe, Discworld, yeah. I know that they have a Discworld RPG. Not late if you're here, Kirk. We were just talking about that. I know that a Discworld RPG exists. That's why I think I didn't put it on the list, because I was like, oh, I know for sure that that exists. Brandon Sanderson, that's another guy I thought of because I haven't read any of his stuff, but boy howdy, do I hear about him all the time. He's like all over TikTok, and people sending me messages about him, and my friends in real life, like Justin, they have like a book club going on, and I know that they read at least one of the books for that. So yeah, everybody praises him. I'll have to, one of these days I'll come around and have to read it. Maybe that's what I'll do for reading. I gotta get a job first. Okay, so that's all the answers for that question. Thank you for the question, John. So the next question this evening is from Zuna. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, but that's what I think it is. And Zuna asks, hey, Chaz. So it was recently announced that Stranger Things will release its 5th and final season sometime next year. With the release of their episode list, there's a conversation. There's B conversation? That is not how that was written. There's been conversation online about whether or not Camazotz is in a reference to D&D or perhaps A Wrinkle in Time. What do you think? Thanks for the content and have a great holiday. Well, thank you very much for the question, Suna. I guess, yeah. Well, there's not much of a spell check in Photoshop, to be honest. It's not that great. And also, I don't know that that would have caught that, because technically it wasn't spelled wrong. I just didn't write the word. So, Stranger Things. Man, that's still a thing, I guess. I did enjoy the last season, I suppose. But this is what I wrote about it. I suspect that since it's Stranger Things, it probably is in reference to the D&D bat god. If I remember correctly, didn't they fight bats in the last season? So, some foreshadowing? I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about Stranger Things in general. I just feel like it's taken so long. And production in general has gotten to a place where it takes so long. And I think, I don't know when that started. I feel like Game of Thrones, I think was, Breaking Bad might have started it. Because I remember when they were airing Breaking Bad on television, they didn't tell anybody that they were splitting the final season in half. And so we got like, I think 4 or 5 episodes into the last season of Breaking Bad. And AMC was like, all right, well, see you next year for the resolution. It's like, what? That was, in my lifetime, that was the first time that I remember that some show was like, we're doing this. And they had, they were within their power to do that because it was such a good show. Game of Thrones, I think, really ran with that, where they're like, you'll wait 2 years. It'll be done when it's done. And now it's started to become kind of a trend because you see it with like Stranger Things, obviously, with the breaks that it has, and also Severance. Man, like it's taken so long for Severance to come back that like I don't even care anymore. And that's unfortunate because I think that was a really, really well-written, well-performed show. But it's just, I don't know. I imagine that a lot of it has to do with money. I imagine that a lot of it has to do with contracts as to say, like, we're going to give you, I don't know. Different studios do it differently for different deals, I guess. So some people, they get, most I suspect get a season or a pilot and then see how it goes and then go from there. But sometimes if you've got like 4 seasons and you're locked in contract, it's like, well, we can finish these seasons when we finish them, I guess. They fought Vecna last season. Yeah, I'm kind of over Stranger Things. Yeah, I feel that. Like, I'm going to watch it because I'm sure that it'll be good, but it doesn't hit like it used to. I'm not like hype like I was, like even when like season 2 or season 3 came out. It's very much just kind of like, all right, let's finish this up. Harry Potter split the last book into 2 movies. Oh, interesting. And that was 2 years before Breaking Bad. Just wondering what happened to 22 to 24 episode seasons and how we got down to 8 to 12. Yeah, I think a lot of it also has to do with the way that people ingest content too, right? Because the new hot thing for content the last couple of years has been TikTok. These very short, I can flip to the next thing kind of thing. Almost like a miniature television in that way. Like we used to channel surf when I was a kid. You just flip channels around. Now you just do that with your thumb on your phone. And, the next thing could be anything. I don't know. Short content has been kind of king lately. And so it's now become a standard for seasons to be like, I feel like during the Breaking Bad era, it started to get like 10, 12 episodes. And then it became, now it's down to 8. The Penguins 8. Good Omens will be back with a couple of episodes to tie up the series. Huh. Yeah, Good Omens is good. I enjoyed that show. Heard some stuff about Millie. Yeah, I don't know much about her. I suspect that she's got her own demons, just like any other kid probably growing up with that kind of, it's like Bieber. Having that much fame and that much money so young, I don't know if it's good for people. I mean, I don't think people having too much fame or money is good for them anyway, at any age. But it's probably a much different thing when you're like 11 years old and you have more money than like anyone in the room. It's probably a weird thing. Won't be long before a whole season's like 3 episodes. Yeah, and hey, Britain does that. I was just going to say, yeah, Sherlock was 3 episodes per season. The British do that with their content, where they'll be like 3 or 4 episodes and that's it. Each one was about 3 hours. Yeah, it's more of like a short list of films. Like a short collection of films rather than like streaming changed the traditional episode makeup. Now we don't need 27 or 43-minute episodes. It's nice they don't have to cut stories to fit a time slot. True. But I think some of them still... I think that a lot of things are still written that way. And a lot of things are still kind of released that way. I feel like, man, HBO has been like 2 steps ahead the whole way, right? Because they were kind of offering that concept of streaming. Now, I mean, granted, obviously it was a channel package that you paid for. But like that idea of no commercials was good stuff. Miniseries. Yeah, there was, what's the name of that Wizard of Oz miniseries that was so good? I can't think of it. It came out like within the last 10 or 15 years. Tin Man? Maybe it was just called Tin Man. Now streaming has commercials. Oh, I know. It's driving me insane on Prime. Like, nothing's crazier than Prime asking for more money. That is so wild. They're just like, okay, listen, you've been paying us for 10 years. Now you get commercials. But, hey, that's the world we're living in these days. Sopranos did several hiatuses, then a season 6A and B for the last season. They felt like different seasons. Huh. I'm not familiar because I did not watch The Sopranos when it was airing. It wasn't until years later that I watched it. Prime wants the extra $3, $4 for Afri. Yeah, that's how they get you. They nickel and dime you the whole way. Just created a new channel in the Discord, reading suggestions. Oh, good call. Thanks for that, Pirate. Prime commercials are actually the most tame compared to other platforms that do commercials. Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, and maybe for now that might change. I also, I've never been resistant to the idea of targeted advertisement. Like, I remember when that first started happening, people would complain, and it's like, dude, I would much rather see an advertisement for something that I might actually buy than something that I would never buy. Hulu's trash. Yeah, I know, Hulu's bad. I hate current streaming, so many channels. Yeah. And it has become like what my dad and I used to joke about, which is that, like, everything's a la carte, but you have to buy everything. Because we used to joke about, like, how silly it was to have to pay for, 300 channels when you only watch 6 of them. And we always used to just dream about, like, wouldn't it be great if you could just pay for, like, I just want to pay for music, or I just want to pay for comedy, sitcoms. And we kind of have that now, but it's just, you're just nickel and dimed on all of it, and you're paying about what you were paying the cable company 20 years ago. Love to see David Eddings' books turned into a series. Not familiar. All right, well, we got to keep moving because we've got more questions. So thank you for the question, Zuna. Yeah, that's we kind of went all the way around to answer that, but I stick with what I said. Yeah, I think it's D&D related, most likely. But hey, maybe it's a cool nod to A Wrinkle in Time somehow. Who knows? We'll have to see. But hopefully it's sometime. My vids can be annoying, but you love what I do. Well, thank you. Yeah, I've been known to be an annoyance. The real kicker is one platform doesn't have all the seasons of a series and it's split between... Oh, yeah, I know. That's crazy frustrating. Okay, so thank you for the question. Let's move on. We've got another question from Sean, and this is actually from the person who submitted that art corner as well at the beginning that we talked about, the spells, swords, and stealth books or whatever. This is from Sean. So Sean asks, "Hey Bard, I've been catching up on your last month of episodes and laughed at your nightmare group, edgelord, etc., because I was practically listing them in the same order." Yeah, I think that kind of happened here when we did it. But on the subject of the horny bard stereotype being played out, I couldn't agree more. So my question for you and chat is, what new tropes or stereotypes could we introduce? I'm a fan of the dad bard idea and love a princess who can save herself. I'm finally getting enough free time again to get playing, and I love playing against stereotypes. Keep up the great work. Thank you for the question, Sean, and of course for the recommendation on the books. I put together some ideas for this. Chat, any ideas on stereotypes or new tropes that we might introduce to the game? I think we've also talked about this before, but I'm not totally sure. So, yes, Pirate, it is indeed a multi-slide question. I love this idea, and I came up with a couple of thoughts. So maybe a fun trope to do would be like a soft-spoken, like nerdy librarian kind of bard. That'd be pretty cool. Like I feel like in addition to the whole like horny bard thing, there's also just kind of an association with the bard being, because they're the entertainer, there's kind of an automatic association of like extroversion. Like, oh, well, they're an extroverted person, or they're loud, or they're funny. But they don't have to be that. So, you know, your class is not your character. It's not necessarily your personality. So like not all bards have to be extroverted or loud or funny. It could be that a bard is like really low key and chill, but just so happens to like rip it on the saxophone or something. I also like the idea of an anxious barbarian, kind of like a Wreck-It Ralph kind of situation almost, but like not so much on the anger, more about like playing up the anxiety. So it's kind of a way to buck the whole like fearless warrior thing. Maybe they have more of like a nervous energy. Or how about like an overly positive rogue? So instead of like them being like edgelordy and like Mr. or Mrs. Cool, it's like a rogue that just like wants everybody to get along. I think that stuff's fun. Fashion fabulous bard. Yeah, there you go. And that, again, that's a thing that doesn't necessarily require extroversion or being loud. It's just like, oh, maybe they're just like super fashionable, and that's like part of their deal. That's why they're so charismatic, is because they dress real fancy and they're really proper, like an Augustus Montgomery type, although he was a druid. Misogynistic bard. What? Monsters defending the dungeon from adventurers. Wait a minute. I had previously gotten to 8th level monk, but I started this campaign at 1st. Dad joke bard. They wear Hawaiian shirts and take pleasure in the groans. Vicious mockery is how bad the joke is. Yeah, my buddy Justin made a bard named Cadwallader, who was like a stand-up comedian who was really bad. So, like, all of his jokes were bad. The intelligence barbarian, or an urban city ranger. Mom cleric. Weirdo outlander ranger, lawful stupid evil paladin, animal-loving illusionist who plays up the traveling circus performer angle. Oh, that's kind of cool. Accidental bard. Thinks they're a singer, but it's so horrible it's hilarious, so they're really a comedian. Accidental bard has got big potential. I like that idea. I'll have to think more on that. I have a D&D character that's very atypical. Kinder assassin. His tragic backstory left him full of rage and very quiet and reserved. The cleric who is into whips and chains, the Obadiah cleric. Storyteller bard. I am not familiar with what Quasiquentin is. The old wise wizard killed your father, being the final straw which drove the villain to the dark side. The buff wizard, yeah, like Sean Gina. Muscle wizard. Alzheimer's wizard. Well, that's Studebaker Peppercorn, brother. Well, he was a warlock bard, actually. But yeah, I think any of those are cool. I think, you know, the main idea, I think, is for you to make up your own thing. But I do always love the idea of kind of, I'm a swim against the mainstream kind of guy. So I'm always looking to do something that's kind of like cool and out there. A politician bard. Yeah, I've talked about that, I think, in a rap song. I forget which one it is. It's something off of Attack of Opportunity. But I talk about how, maybe it's World's Best RPG. But I talk about how, like, maybe, like, you have political ambitions. And I think I've talked about that on this podcast before, too. Like, that's a really cool concept that probably doesn't get much RP, just overall. The mistaken hero. Someone thinks you are a famous hero, and you can't convince them otherwise, but they can convince the rest of the townsfolk. Cleric who isn't sure his god likes him. Yeah, that's really funny. Or like a godless cleric. The divine soul sorcerer who was raised by rogues. Wasn't the baddie in a recent D&D movie a politician bard? I thought he was a rogue. Wasn't he supposed to be a rogue? I felt like the hero of the party was a bard. I guess he was kind of a politician, yeah, because he didn't really... He was a rogue, I think, though. Leads with his brawn, and not till months later find out he's a wizard. Yeah, there's a whole anime about that. What's that called? Mashal? Where the main character doesn't really have any like magical abilities, so he just instead uses strength. Charisma rogue. Mistaken hero. Yeah, mistaken heroes is big fun. I also like accidental bard a lot. That's great. A druid that hates being in the wilderness. Yeah. That could totally be a thing. Especially if it was like a druid that was like raised in a city, right? Like they're not very outdoorsy, but they have an affinity for it. That'd be fun. Once played a divided cleric. Two gods had decided to fight over him, so he would uncontrollably swap between good and evil modes. That's cool too. Their deity constantly switching. Man, that's like that's a well of of role play. So yeah, I think any of those and all of those are fun. So thank you for the question, Sean. That was a fun little jaunt. Druid with allergies. Old school cavalier that is a young gray elf. A moody teenage girl. Yeah, that'd be cool. Political bards make me think of heralds or town criers. I feel like I would have been one of those in a past life. Like an orator in Rome or something. Just a dude yelling in the street, telling people what's going on. Also have a dwarf cleric that abhors booze. Looking for new books or series to check out. Oh, yeah. No worries. Thank you for the question. I'm glad that there were some answers in there. If not anything relevant from me, certainly from the chat here. You have any race, any class, your family is alive, and you have no tragedy or trauma in your backstory. That's the quickest way to go against the mainstream. Oh, yes, we do, indeed. Okay, thank you very much for the question, Sean. We have this next question is from Dave. And this one is tough. I'm going to try and just get through it as diplomatically as possible because I'll talk about it and I'll just go through it. So let's go for it. Greetings, O Wise Bard and DM. As I'm sure you know, we recently had an election. I know you like to avoid politics, but I also know you're a true centrist. Plus, you seem to be a pretty smart person, so I imagine your opinion won't be biased. What are your thoughts on where we are and where we're going? Thank you for the question, Dave. Now, I will say that before I say anything, I just want to say that I debated answering this question for several days. And ultimately, I decided on answering it because I don't want to give the impression or the example that I'm afraid to speak freely about what my beliefs are. So typically I avoid politics because I don't agree with most of the population in general. Okay. And since there's not really much that could be done about it, I don't like to stir up arguments. So I don't want this to be a thing that's going to become a thing. I'm just going to try to read through my thing so that I can express myself and then we can just move on. Because like I said, I really went back and forth on whether or not I should answer this, but I decided that I should. So I am a centrist in the sense that I'm not beholden to any political party. From the beginning, I'm already at odds with an overwhelming majority of the country in that sense, right? Because like 98% people vote for one or the other. And who I voted for is pretty immaterial to where we are and where we're going. But I will say this. I'm not keen on the idea of tariffs. I think things are expensive enough already. I think if we wanted to incentivize companies to invest in America, there are much more effective ways to do so. I'm not a fan of this whole your body, my choice movement thing that seems to be growing online. As somebody who cares deeply about the women in my life, I worry that something like that being applauded and repeated is not a good thing. I don't like the idea of the dismantling of the Department of Education. Do I think it needs work? Of course, obviously. You can always improve things. I don't think the answer is getting rid of it. I support the idea of the Department of Education. I support the idea of Social Security, as somebody who's paid into it for the last few decades. I don't think it should be done away with. So there are a lot of policies about Trump that I don't like. And admittedly, there are a lot of personal things about him that I don't like. I've never been a fan of rich people, regardless of their political affiliation. I've never really understood middle class or poor working people supporting rich people, but that's happened throughout history. The rich tend to expand their power and get away with anything because they have money. I'm actually writing a script about that right now. I think that historically speaking, people tend to get exactly what they ask for and then promptly complain about it. And I also think that our concerns are way bigger than Kamala versus Trump. I haven't heard anybody talking about legalizing cannabis. In fact, it just failed in my state, which I try to tell people what happened. I haven't heard anyone talking about AI or UBI. And I think between tariffs and AI, things are going to get a lot more expensive and a lot harder for people. Maybe they'll get better eventually, but I think the next several years are going to be really hard on a lot of people. And by the way, I'm not saying that that's all because of Trump, because I think that a lot of these issues would happen anyway. I do think that he and his policies are an accelerant to that. So all I can do is hope that he doesn't use his newly granted immunity for evil. That's all that any of us can do. And I think that's all we can do with any politician. And, even if he does use his immunity for evil, there's not much that can be done about it. I hope that I am wrong. I hope that he does great things and unifies the country and makes everything super affordable. I don't think that he will, but I hope that he does. And I'll just say a final note. Also, I don't want to hear anyone blaming the third-party voters. They make up less than 2% of the population, and if every single one of them had voted one way or the other, it would have had no bearing on the election. So if you're one of the 98% of people who refuse to vote for anything that isn't red or blue, don't make that the third party's problem. That's not our problem. So, Okay, so that's where I'm at. And we seem to still be intact. Nobody is fighting anyone. um, so that's where I'm at. I think that that's a fair stance, personally. You know, I'm not going to be one of these people that I'm not going to be angry about it because there's very little that I can do about it anyway. And, you know, you're talking to somebody who, even though I'm probably an admitted centrist, my friends on the right don't think that. My friends on the right usually consider me to be like super liberal. But I am more of a centrist. But I guess that like if I do tend to lean left, I do so in a blood red state. So probably move to the next question. Yeah, let's do that. We should. I don't want to harp on it too long. And again, I don't want to create an environment for people to argue. If anybody also, by the way, wants to talk to me more about it, feel free to reach out to me on Discord. We could talk about it there. But like I said, I debated answering the question. I ultimately wanted to because I don't want people to think that I'm afraid to. You know what I mean? Nobody's scared on this side of the screen. So, all right, let's move on to the next question. We'll keep this thing going. Thank you very much for the question, Dave. It's appreciated. And that was kind of therapeutic for me to be able to do. So, and thank you very much for the donation, Trevor. That's very kind of you. So, okay. The next question is from Scott. And Scott asks, and this is kind of sort of in the same vein, not about politics, but you'll see what I mean. And Scott asks, hey DM, have you seen the latest videos by Boston Dynamics? Apparently Amazon has a new arm robot named Stretch that can unload and load trucks. They also have another one named Atlas, who seems to be doing sorting and packaging. Thoughts? Thanks. Thank you for the question, Scott. Yes, I have seen those videos. In fact, I'm pretty on top of Atlas in general, Boston Dynamics stuff. For a long time, I've been wow, sorry, just totally lost my train of thought. Where are we? Oh no. Atlas. Yeah, I've been following Atlas for a long time. I was following Atlas back, but when he used to be tethered still. So I did see the video. I don't know if anybody else has seen it. You should check it out on YouTube. Just go to Boston Dynamics. It's definitely Skynet. Atlas I've seen, and I watched him get untethered and start running and doing backflips, and now he's doing what I suspect is a job of humans at the moment. And while it is very, very slow, at this point, that just means that they have to focus on making it faster. So this is what my actual answer is, because I did write something up about it. I think we're probably cooked. The Atlas video is kind of surreal because of the fact that it can function that way now. It just means that they can focus on improving the speed. I think Stretch will replace workers far more quickly than Atlas, but we're fully into the automated side of industry. And I'm not going to say any names because I'm not trying to, it's not my business to like put people out there. But I will say that I did see that a fellow bar dad of ours recently lost his job due to just the idea of automation. And I think that that's going to continue to happen, unfortunately, just kind of across the board. So, by the way, and if that person is here with us and listening, if you ever need anything as far as like, if you've got like a GoFundMe or anything to help with that, just let me know. I can feature it on here. I can share it on my socials. I'm happy to help anything with that. But I think of it like a flow chart. And there's kind of like a through line through like a lot of my responses to questions this evening. But like all the steps lead back to Bunny. So it's like earlier we were talking about Wizards and them putting an autistic character into D&D. Like we can talk about pandering and woke and, you know, culture and virtue signaling, but at the end of the day, it's all about money. And if you could tell a company that you could get them more money, they're going to do it. And they don't care what it is. If it means, and in particular when it comes to labor, because I've always been of the opinion that the rich have only allowed us to exist but for our labor. But if you can tell a company that you can provide them equivalent or better or even just equivalent labor for less cost, they're going to do that every time. And even if it's just the idea of it, right? Because I do feel like there is a bit of hubris associated with AI as to, it's a little bit like the internet was in the late 90s, where there's a lot of heavy investment into this thing that's going to change the world. And it's not going to be overnight. It's going to be gradual. And human beings cannot be replaced right now. And they probably won't even be able to be replaced in a year. But in 10 years, certainly in 20, most jobs that exist now that involve any kind of like manual labor or retail, like any kind of POS, like point of sale, like cashier stuff, I think that's all going away. And yeah, and to that point, Henry, who will do the maintenance on the robots, like that will be, you know, I don't know if there will be enough of those type of jobs created to offset that. Maybe there will be. And who knows, maybe it'll be a hybrid thing that we've not even considered. Like they're doing in, I've spoken before about how in Japan they have the robots that that people with disabilities are able to use to like work from home so that they can generate an income, and they just operate a robot remotely. Maybe it looks like that. Maybe it's a thing where they're partially autonomous robots and they are controlled by a person at home who's a human. But, you know, I think that you're always going to need a human somewhere at the switch. But that's going to become more and more remote, right? It's kind of like that with IT, right? Like 20 years ago, if you're in IT, you got to be there. We need you at the office, pal. You got to manage the switch, literally. But now, with everything in the cloud, so much can be done remotely as far as just management of the network that it's just kind of a different, it looks different. And I think that that's going to happen with a lot of industries. Like for the people that are actually in the stores, it'll just be like machines that you just like put goggles on and select your items, and then, you know what I mean? But it'll just look different for the workers because they'll be operating robots from their house. At some point, it'll reach a point where it'll be cheaper to just replace the robot instead of repair them. I saw a few years ago that suggested robots have economic agency. That'll be interesting to see. Considering Amazon's working conditions, almost anything will be more humanitarian. The companies will probably hire out a repair service. Robots as well as humans could repair robots simultaneously. That's true. And that'll be the next thing, right? Is like the self-repairing robot. They have their own economic identity and won't be owned. I don't know. That's tough. Well, we're going to have to start having some real conversations about that. And guess what? Nobody's talking about it, dude. Certainly not anybody with any kind of power. So that's another kind of reason I'm just kind of checked out politically. It's just like, those people aren't even talking about stuff we need to be talking about, like AI. We haven't even figured out all the legalities surrounding the internet. So we get full androids with positronic brains. Bro, hook me in. I'm not even kidding. If you can prove to me that it's safe, download me. Like yesterday, please. Ryan George's Boston Dynamics skit. I have not. Think they can't make repair bots. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be Skynet probably. But, you know, what are you going to do? Enjoy it, I say, as best you can. We're certainly living through history. Play Soma and then tell me you want to be downloaded. Oh, no. Is that a scary game? I got to see what that is. Oh, no. That looks big scary, River. I don't know about that, dude. I might not want to do anything after that. I don't do well with scary. Me and scary, we don't get along. Alrighty. So, thank you for the question. This last question is from John, and we can We can use this to kind of like shift into chat too, or we could talk about anything. But this one's from John, and it's sportsy, so let's do that, and then we can get into chat. John asks, okay, Chaz, looks like Mac Jones is starting for Jacksonville this week. Any chance he turns it around for the Jags? Also, thoughts on the NBA season so far? Oh boy, I'll tell you this: the further we get into the football season, the less I want to talk about football, and that's purely because I'm a Jags fan. It's been rough. It's been real rough. I don't know how much of a difference Mac Jones is going to make, to be honest with you, because we're still going to have the same offensive line. We're still going to have the same offensive coordinator. We're still going to have the same receivers. So, oh no, no sports talk. What do you mean, Pirate? Oh man, the Bucks were doing so good. But hey, you guys still might win your division because the rest of your division is trash. So you guys might just kind of like stumble into the playoffs. Unless your team like mine is undefeated. Oh no, a Chiefs fan. A Chiefs fan in the wild. Yeah, I suspect they'll three-peat unless something crazy happens. But then again, like you've got these guys like Jaden Daniels doing work, and I don't think it's going to make much of a difference regardless, not only because of our own personnel, but we're playing Miami. We're playing Minnesota this week. Not looking forward to it. Wasn't really cool to be part of the to be the second part of the Saquon Barkley meme all week. It's like, of course, that happens to us. Like, the Jaguars are so bad that running backs jump over them backwards, dude. Good gracious. Atlanta holds the tiebreaker. Dang. Oh, a Panthers fan. What do you mean try? We have the same record, pal. I'm familiar. We're in the same boat, literally. So, and hey, we expanded the same year, so there's some solidarity there. Actually, always have had kind of a bit of a sweet, soft spot for the Carolina Panthers because of that, because they came out the same year, and like we've kind of got the same color scheme. Like we're like the black, teal, and gold, and you're like the black, teal, and silver. It's cool. But yeah, it's got to be tough being a Panthers fan. It's terrible. Oh yeah, and Godwin, I forgot about him. That's tough, man. Tough. Got the 49ers this week. Hey, listen, the 49ers, y'all could beat the 49ers with or without Godwin. I don't think the 49ers are that good, dude. I don't think they're as good this year as they were last year. Okay, so we're officially in chat. Oh, and I was asked about the NBA, but we are still officially in chat, so we can kind of talk about whatever we want. Let's talk about good things of the week. Tell me good things of the week while I say a few things about the NBA. I haven't been watching too much. I know that we've started a couple of weeks ago. What are we, like 8-9 games in? I think it's way too early to tell, but I think we could be looking at might be a Celtics-Mavs rematch, or could be like Cavs-Mavs. That markets itself, huh? Plus, like, I don't know. They just got a lot of Cavaliers been playing, balling out crazy. Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell. So, yeah, way too early to really get into it. I'll probably talk about it again in like when we get closer to the All-Star break. Mike Flanagan. The Penguin series has been awesome. Yes, it is. The Penguin's really good. I'm gifted with this much happy. Enjoy it. I saw, oh my gosh, there's this TikTok I forgot that guy's name. I gotta find that guy's name. I should mention him for people to follow on TikTok because he's big funny. He's like, how can TikTok be bad if Make Me Laugh so good? What's his name? Avery McClure. Oh boy, he's funny. So this time slot is cursed for me recently. What time slot? Oh no. Sorry about that, Duncan. Well, hey, think of it this way. You've got stuff to catch up on. You can rewatch the VOD. After 1 month of hiatus, restarted your in-person campaign. Nice. Every team dealing with an upswing of injuries. Yeah, most definitely. It's been wild for injuries this year. It's my 21st wedding anniversary this week, and next week is your daughter's birthday. Well, congratulations on your anniversary, and happy early birthday to your daughter. Please check out Saturday morning breakfast cereal. Why all caps? Atlanta was eaten by Dan Campbell and the Lions. I went to Motor City Comic Con. I got to meet Kevin Gervu, the creator of Blue Marvel and Marvel Comics. It was awesome. That is cool. Pirate's birthday was Tuesday, 41. Happy birthday, Pirate. Love SMBC. Whoa. It's so well known that it's got hold on a second. I might actually know what this is. Oh, yeah. I have seen this before. Huh. I had a dream where I fought a bugbear, and his mom came out and started lecturing me. I woke up feeling like I was putting time out. Woman of the Hour. Oh, that's a really good one. I should put that up for Art Quarter next week. It's a good movie on Netflix. Anna Kendrick directed it. It's real good. Digging how they portrayed Sophia Falcone. Her eyes say, yes, they called me the Hangman. Yo, Sophia is so dope. What a great character. What a well-written show. I'm actually a little sad that tomorrow's the last episode. Or Sunday, I guess. In chat early. What do you mean? We've been in chat. Good things for the week. The 4-player BG3 game you were running with your friends is resuming tomorrow. Nice. I guess my good thing of the week is that I passed my exams. That's probably about the best thing. Anyone checked out the campaign idea you posted in the Discord? Oh, yeah, Pirate posted some campaign stuff in there. Where is Dave Chappelle? What do you mean? Oh, by the way, like, I pointed this out to my wife earlier today just because I thought it was funny, but it's just like, just nobody's talking about Diddy anymore. Nobody thinks that's weird. I saw an article earlier that said that he's requesting bail, I think, for the 4th time. But I guess, like, what with everything going on with the election and stuff, it's just like, I don't see anybody talking about it anymore. So weird. We don't get into chat until about 10. Till about 10. It's about 11. Game of Thrones. Oh, no. Good thing of the week. Cat got cleared to get out of the kennel. 6 weeks in confinement for a broken leg. Oh, no. Well, I'm glad that they're better. Tap me for a music recommendation. What do you got? You giving or asking? I don't listen to much music, man. That's a weird thing. Because I make it a lot. But I don't listen a lot. Oh, you're in Central. That makes more sense. Dave Chappelle should have so many jokes by now, but I haven't heard a peep out of him. Asking. Shoot, I like all kinds of stuff. I'm a hip-hop head, so I've been really into, like, lately I've been really into, like, Big X The Plug and Boss Man D-Lo. But I also like a little bit of everything. I'm, like, into ska and rock and... I mean, what are some of my favorite things to listen to? I listen to, like, a lot of Real Big Fish and, like, Mighty Mighty Boss Tones and, like, old school 90s hip-hop, like Pac and Woo and The Woo and all kinds of stuff. So I'd say any of that. Diddy thing is really insane. I'm sure we'll see some documentaries. Oh, they're on the way. And they're going to be... It's going to be wild, dude. And 50's been working on one for years. Stephanie Sue in particular has a multi-deep dive on the whole mess surrounding Diddy. Yeah, that stuff's going to be wild. As more and more info comes out about it, I'm sure that we'll I'm sure it's going to be the Axis of Awesome. That sounds familiar. Also. Oh, yeah, I know these people. Yeah, the Axis of Awesome did the thing where they did the 4-chord songs for all the songs. That's a brilliant video. And I think that's important for anybody to watch, honestly. I hope everybody enjoyed the cooler weather. Yeah, it has been getting cooler, which is nice. I can't believe we're already, like, in November. Isn't that wild? It seems crazy. Starbomb. Oh, did they? Now, I like me some Starbomb. I'll tell you. Yeah, the 4-chord song, that's what it is. Yeah, that's brilliant stuff. Oh, you know who's dope? Walk Off the Earth. They're really, really good. I wish that I could remember, like, I get lots of suggestions for music. I'll tell you this, you want some music suggestions? Join the Discord. There's a whole music channel. Go in there, and the River, at least, is always posting stuff, but I think all of us in general kind of throw music in there, so. Got warm here in Maryland, 80s, starting to cool back down. Going to a Viking festival tomorrow? Big fun. Added some fur to my cloak for the chilly nighttime fun. Heck yeah. That's cool. I bet that'll be real fun. Thoughts on AC modifiers for armor type in First Edition? Can't do it. It's too much to process. Send me an email. Can we post our Sunos in there? I don't know. That's up to you guys. I post my Suno stuff in there. I mean, Suno's music. And it's going to become more, just a quick funny note too about that. Like on one of my recent, on that recent song that I posted, somebody commented on it and they were like, this is so much better than the AI stuff you've been posting. And I couldn't help but think, like, obviously you're entitled to your opinion. Like, I didn't mean to, like, make fun of you there. I just was, like, changing my voice. But you're entitled to that opinion. But honestly, there's the difference between, like, an AI song that I've released and a rap song that I've released is one step, which is that I'm performing the lyrics. That's it. So, like, I didn't write the beat. There's 1 degree of separation there when it comes to production. So, just letting you know. And post tracks that come up on my playlist, yeah. Legends of Evantris. I don't know enough about them, although I see them. People are heading out. Speaking of music in the Discord, put Suno, punk rock, Irish rock, and bagpipes to the Remember the 5th of November nursery rhyme. That's cool. Alrighty. Well, that sounds like it's about my cue as well. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, folks. It goes by faster every week. So, before we get out of here, let's do a couple of things that we like to do at the end. Remind everybody again of the email for the show, which is bardadvice@gmail.com. It also looks like bardadvice. If you want to get some merch, do so over at manshorts.com or go get some dice over at krakendice.com. If you want to contribute to anything that I'm doing musically, you can do so directly via PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, all of which are Yazik, YAHZICK. We will be back same Bard time, same Bard channel next week, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Man Shorts YouTube channel. The audio for this podcast, as always, will be made available tomorrow at 12 p.m. noon Eastern Standard Time. I hope that everybody has a fantastic weekend and an even better week, and we will see you next time.